Radio.com.
Join me, Joe Joseph, John King, and A.C. Griffith, Thursdays and Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern for Freedomlink Radio on the Intel Hub News Network.
A very wealthy U.S. citizen is predicting that in 2011, we will witness the most important day in America in more than 50 years. He says it will change everything about our lives, the way you shop, travel, invest, educate your children, and even how you take care of your health and family. Now this man has made some outrageous predictions over the years, but the crazy part is he's usually right. You see, he predicted the collapse of GM, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and America's biggest mall owner, General Growth Properties, a few years ago. In fact, Baronis called his work a dire prophecy. Now, this has nothing to do with the stock market, but it could have a huge impact on almost every aspect of your life. And recently, he created a video which you can watch online for free, detailing his biggest and most important prediction yet. And it's a real eye-opener. I can't stress this enough. You should at least watch this free video online today. He explains everything you need to know, including simple steps you can take to protect yourself. You can find the video at www.endofamerica8.com. Although this video may be offensive to some audiences, it's worth checking out. Again, that's www.endofamerica8.com. Watch this free video at www.endofamerica8.com. You are listening to the Intel Hub News Network, crushing the New World Order piece by piece.
What a fantastic conversation we're having this evening, folks, and I cannot even begin to give you the idea or just relay the importance of what we're saying tonight, because it truly is an important conversation and some really important thoughts for you guys to consider as you make your preparations going forward. And with that said, I think John King has a very hard-hitting King's Court tonight. And without further ado, John, take it away.
Thanks, Joe. Many of you may remember on my last King's Court, I said the contagion in the Middle East will spread and a breeding ground for anti-Americanism and terrorism will be created. Well, Libya and Morocco have now tossed their hats into the ring for the bid for freedom. Iranian warships have been said to have passed through the Suez Canal en route to Syria, and Israel said that's a provocation to war. We now have the very real possibility of radical Islam taking hold in Kosovo. The breakdown in the Middle East is due to the formation of the African Union, the predecessor to the Global Union or the One World Government, a.k.a. the New World Order, spoken of by George Bush Sr. on September 11th, 1991. That's 20 years coming up this September, folks. It was 10 years to the day when we were attacked on 9/11. You draw your own conclusions as a footnote. That's why the New York Stock Exchange was sold to the Germans to merge our economies. This is all prefabricated somewhere. Freedom may be the motive, or as I call it, the contagion. I only call it the contagion because of how fast it spreads. Sort of puts a damper on George Bush's excuse, they hate us for our freedom. Hey, George, are they self-haters now? The puppet dictators who have resisted the global banking order will now meet the fate of their repressed peoples. The people will hold elections and have a radical influence take hold, such as what is taking place in Kosovo, a legitimate government, or the knowledge that they have just reinstalled yet another puppet of the global banking cartel known as the New World Order. Here in the U.S., the marches of March get set to roll out as the federal government runs dry and the threat of the federal government shutdown looms on March 4th, 2011. That means if no budget is met, the entitlements stop. Are you ready for the breakdown of society because of gluttony and lust? We are now in the time of the quickening as the states run dry of money and funding. The bills of everyday life pile up on the people and on the government workers, and I have no doubt that the marches of March will ensue, and they will have the National Guard deployed to take and maintain order. If you think they won't do it, don't kid yourself. It was a common thing back in the Vietnam protest days. But back then, that's when real Americans had balls to stand up. Now men carry handbags and have been feminized. In my humble opinion, once troops first hit the streets, start the countdown. It's time to pay the piper, America. The time of sorrows is at hand. They will soon make you beg for relief and accept a foreign currency, and with it, the loss of a nation's identity and sovereignty. What have you done to help our nation? How dedicated are you? I talk to everybody every day I meet what's going on and try to wake them up and spread the word. I guess I don't care what they think, because when the crap hits the fan, they will remember my face. I have allocated 2/3 of my income tax return to build me a shelter in my mountain land. I am more right than I am wrong. When you see you're on a ship and the rat's running to the back of the boat, it's time to look for the lifeboat. Well, folks, the rats have left the Titanic, and I'm building mine. Joe, back to you.
You're building a Titanic?
No, my lifeboat in the hills.
Oh, there you go, man. That's good. And, I mean, folks, John is most certainly he's really going at it full. I thought the guy was prepared, if you ask me, but apparently not, according to John King's standard. And he's putting forth a tremendous effort to really prepare himself now while he still can. Now, I noticed in the chat room there's some interesting talk about silver and how much it's shooting up lately. And I'm interested to get an opinion, and I'll start with you, Tom, as far as what you think that signifies. What do you think silver shooting up so quickly signifies?
Well, the banks have, especially J.P. Morgan Chase, have oversold their quantities of silver, the shares, and when that is found out, there is going to be a recognition that there's a shortage of silver, which is going to really shoot it up. And this might be the front end of that. John mentioned the price of the lifeboats going up. The farmers around here in Southwest Georgia are going giddy over the fact that the commodities prices are going way up, meaning that they can sell their corn or their peanuts or whatever for higher prices. So they're looking forward to the planting season. And I'm trying to tell people, look, this isn't good. This is actually the prices of the lifeboats going up before they realize that even the silver won't buy a place on the lifeboat, and the silver's thrown out on the streets. There's going to be a short-term spike in silver, probably more fast than the spike in gold, but those commodities will continue to go up until they're worthless. Yeah, no, I agree. But isn't it interesting that, like we said before, how important it is to store food? Yeah. Food is really becoming a new gold standard, if you will. I mean, look at the commodities prices shooting up, and food is going to go up big time. Griff, we were talking about that. Inflation is only one reason why food's going up. Shortage is another, but the other is just these speculators are just driving the prices up big time, and it's causing some serious problems. Now, do you notice in your location, Griff, of people struggling to make ends meet and put food on the table?
Of course. It's Joe, it's going to be a bitch. Yeah. People are going to die. A lot of people are going to die for a lot of different reasons. I've been listening and trying to keep all of this in my mind, and a thought came to mind, and I want to share this. About 4 years ago, I did a legal case, and I did all of the detective work, and I put the whole thing together on flow charts. How the criminal activity was going on in this matter. And this guy was making corporations and fictitious companies and trading as and various manipulations of corporate names. And it was the greatest scam I have ever seen in my life. I have never seen anything like what this man put together. And he was conning everybody, the state, corporations, and they were just kicking money into him right and left because he was going to put up a statue to Abraham Lincoln that freed the slaves. And the cities were kicking in money because they're black controlled for Abraham Lincoln. And he donated a statue. And one corporation that was advertised was U.S. United, it was U.S. Historical so-and-so. And another company he had in another town was United States Historical.
Mm-hmm.
You see? And they were two different corporations. One was a fictitious name, and the other was 501c3 something. The checks were coming in the name of United States, which was the other company. And all of the corporations kicked in money, I mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. I put the thing together on flow charts, and I used 3 or 4 giant pieces of foam display board to pencil it in and show how he was doing it. Paid a lawyer $15,000 to run with it. Nobody wanted to touch it because of the black thing. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, and they were all, really in there. The greatest con job I've ever seen in my life. A month later, I talked to the lawyer after he got $15,000, and he said, "Griff, I can't get my mind around it. I just can't get my mind around it," he said. And I understood what he was saying. The damn thing was so convoluted and brilliant, and it went in so many directions with so many names and so many connections, arrows going everywhere to New York, to California, to one corporation to another. He said, "Griff, I can't get my mind around it." And it took him a month with another attorney coming in and setting over the weekend, throwing it back and forth before they could get the essence of what was happening. After a month of looking at it, that's what we've got here. It goes in so many directions. The law, I think, has nothing to do with what's coming. You're going to have upwards to 300 million people just really pissed off with guns.
Right.
And a lot of starving people, a lot of people dying for any number of reasons. When the pharmaceuticals go down, people can't get their medication. You're going to see death. When the water supplies are cut off, you're going to see death. When the food supplies are cut off, you're going to see death. When the weather kills the crops. When the thing breaks loose in the Gulf of Mexico, we had an earthquake in the Gulf of Mexico the other day, 3.5. That was not by accident. That was a scalar hit in the Gulf. You wait for some more to hit down there and break open that fault line.
Well, there's been swarms, Griff. I mean, we talked about that on the last show. It's picking up down there for sure.
Well, you crank that into the equation and try to get your mind around and make sense out of all of that. Now, Gaddafi is going down over in Libya right now.
Yeah, and he was a stalwart. He was considered untouchable in the Middle East.
He's been around for 40 years, I guess. Now, when you cut off the oil supplies and you devastate the Gulf and you do away with those platforms down there, the oil, the petroleum, the gasoline, everything coming up here to Virginia comes out. The pipeline starts in Corpus Christi. It's a colonial pipeline. They have pipelines all over the place, but the main one comes out of Corpus Christi, and it comes north, comes up to Cumberland, Virginia, and then it takes a right east over to Richmond, then to Norfolk, the military bases, and it pumps gasoline, kerosene, petroleum, number 2, with water plugs between the various kinds of fuel oils. Then the pipeline goes up to Dulles Airport. It goes to various airports and pumps aviation, JP1, and various aviation fuels. If anything happens to that pipeline, just one pipeline, Colonial Pipeline, do a Google search for it, Colonial Pipeline, what on earth is going to happen? So we have maybe 15 or 20 things going at one time here. Now, try to get your mind around it and make sense out of it. Then you have the Obama thing trying to stir up confusion and chaos, and he's doing a very good job of that. He's trying to bring the country down. So there is no doubt in my mind that it's going to happen. And I think everybody should be putting food